projects throughout the camp that they worked on throughout the camp and they presented at the end of the camp. So the instruments that we administered to assess their perspectives and learning outcomes was, the first one was conducted or administered through the Diversity Programs Office at Kansas State. And this measured, or we wanted to gauge their perspectives on the responsibility of conserving natural resources, their perspectives of the importance of sustainability, and also their perspectives on the willingness to learn more about conservation and sustainability. And this was given in a Likert scale format. The next instrument that we gave was the learning outcome worksheet, where we wanted to gauge the knowledge gained by the campers from beginning to the end of the camp. And the focus areas of this learning outcome worksheet was the pillars of sustainability, the definitions of each of the conservation practices, and conceptual questions. How would they use these conservation practices and when would they use it? And this was given in a multiple choice format. Now the results. So before we get into results, I do want to say that our p-values, we said significant difference was at 0.10, and that was 1 asterisk. 2 asterisks is 0.05 significant difference, and 3 asterisks is 0.01 significant difference. So the first two questions that we want to highlight, or we're going to focus on, is question 2 and question 3, where we had significant difference from the beginning to the end of the camp. Question 2 highlighted or asked the students their perspective of the importance for farmers to implement conservation practices. At the beginning of the camp, students were neutral, had a neutral perspective, and by the end of the camp, they agreed that it was important for farmers to implement conservation practices. Question 3, we asked them, was it important for them to know that their food was produced sustainably? At the beginning of the camp, campers' perspective was neutral. By the end of the camp, it shifted to agreeing that it was important for them to know that their food was produced sustainably. Now, question 4, we asked them, does everyone have a responsibility in conserving natural resources? In the beginning of the camp, the campers' perspective was neutral. By the end of the camp, campers agreed that it was everyone's responsibility in conserving natural resources. In question 7, we asked them, did the activities at Nicodemus help them understand or improve their understanding of conservation practices? And by the end of the camp, the average camper agreed that the activities at Nicodemus helped them understand conservation practices. We do want to highlight question 1, sustainability being important to their future. We did not see a significant shift in an undesired direction, but we did see a small shift in the undesired direction. By the end of the camp, it still was agreed that they all agreed that sustainability is important to their future, but it slightly shifted in the undesired direction. And question 6, we asked them, would they be willing to go more in depth and look into more information regarding conservation practices or sustainability, as we see that it did not change either direction and it stayed the same throughout the camp. Next, we're going to go and look at the learning outcome pre and post worksheet scores. Before we go and look at individual questions, I do want to look at the class average. From the beginning of the camp, students, or the average score for each student was a 56.2. By the end of the camp, it had changed to a 76.5. So one of the first 3 questions that we're going to highlight that we saw significant difference on was question 4 about crop rotation. So we asked them the definition of crop rotation. At the beginning of the camp, only 63% of the students knew what crop rotation was. By the end of the camp, 79% of the students knew what crop rotation was. Question 5, planting a crop without disturbing the soil, which is no-till. We asked them what the definition was at the beginning of the camp. Only 50% of the students knew what no-till was. By the end of the camp, 3/4 of the students, 75% knew what no-till was, conservation practice. Question 6, what might be considered a natural resource? At the beginning of the camp, 71% of the students knew what a natural resource was. By the end of the camp, almost all of the students, 92% of the students knew what a natural resource was. Question 7, what are the 3 pillars of sustainability? In the beginning of camp, 33% of the students knew what the 3 pillars of sustainability was. By the end of the camp, 71% of the students knew what the 3 pillars of sustainability was. In question 9, we asked them a conceptual question on when to use drip irrigation. At the beginning of the camp, only 42% of the students knew when to use drip irrigation. By the end of the camp, 83% of the students knew when to use drip irrigation. Well, I do want to highlight question 3. We asked them about cover crops, and although we did see a change in a desired direction, only 50% or 50% of the students answered this question correctly. So it did make us want to look at the curriculum, although it's not a bad result, or it wasn't in an undesired direction. It was still something to point out and look at. So in conclusion, the overall activities at Nicodemus Educational Camp increased awareness and understanding of sustainability and conservation practices, but campers still struggle with the concept of cover crops at the end of the camp, with only 50% knowing what cover crops was, or they got the definition correct. Campers' perspectives on sustainability and preserving natural resources did shift positively. Despite improved understanding, campers' attitude was less positive than expected regarding the importance of sustainability to their lives. So first and foremost, I want to acknowledge Dr. Wiley for allowing me to work with the College of Agriculture Diversity Programs Office. I want to thank Dr. Lonnie Hobbs for helping me with my statistics, Dr. John Ella Holmes, as well as Dr. Tammy Counts for allowing me to work with Schweitzer Nicodemus Educational Camp, as well as the Willow Lake Student Forum, and my major professor, Dr. Jeremy Cowan. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate being here at PAWC.